Hi, it's Andrew Mullen from Pacing the Cage, and you're listening to Collision on Voice FM.
In the studio with me right now, I have Andrew from Pacing the Cage. How are you, Andrew?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's okay. You've come a long way to join us here on Collision.
Yeah, a couple of hours drive. Well, actually, almost 4 hours drive from Albury.
Wow. Yeah. But the band is actually based in Melbourne.
Yeah. The guys are in Melbourne, and I have to pass on my apologies. A few of the guys wanted to make it, but it just got a bit too much in the end. But we're based in Melbourne and playing shows around Melbourne.
Awesome. Can I ask, how long it is that you guys have been together as Pacing the Cage?
Sure. Well, the simple answer is a couple of months. The long answer is the drummer and I recorded the album about, it's a bit over a year now, and since it's been completed. And it got to a point where we were ready to start promoting the album and getting the band together. So we, about 3 months ago, started rehearsing with the guys and had our first show a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Because it does, it says here that you do play guitar and bass, and you recorded the guitar and bass originally.
That's right. So the project itself started off as a bit of a home do-it-yourself kind of event, and I was very fortunate that I was in touch with a guy by the name of David Carr, and he's a producer in Melbourne, and he suggested that we get a drummer in, and it just so happens that the drummer was a close friend of mine from childhood days. And so I had done the bass and guitars, and we did the drums, and then I took the recording home and did the vocals.
Right. So, yeah, it is Lee Thompson is your drummer.
That's right.
And you've now got Alex and Luca who have joined you. Do you still play guitar or anything on stage, or are you just singing now?
I do still play guitar. The original, concept of pulling the band together was to take a bit of pressure off me from playing guitar, because there's some tricky bits in there. And as it's evolved, we've been able to find a good balance with Alex and myself playing guitar, whereas Alex can, focus on the more tricky bits, and I can just provide a bit of oomph where it's needed.
Yeah, so it is a 4-piece, but it is 2 guitars, bass and drums.
That's right, yeah. And Lee also does some vocals.
Oh, right, yeah. There's a lot more drummers doing vocals these days, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute luxury for me having Lee, who can really sing well. And again, that's another thing that takes the pressure off, and having that confidence that there's, when a chorus is kicking in, that it's really going to be that little bit more of an impact with the additional vocalist.
Yeah, and it's like, I guess it's more difficult for a drummer to sing, but it's saving them a lot of neck problems because they can't just bang their heads all over the place. Now they have to learn to control their head.
That's right. He's got to be careful where his arms go because of the microphone stand. But I originally, when Lee showed a keenness to do some vocals, that thought crossed my mind that it must be quite tough being a drummer and doing vocals. But he kind of just, I think it's just a natural thing for him. He's been playing drums for a long time and been in other popular bands. So it kind of, I think his professionalism, is just to that point that, maybe he can play guitar at the same time as well. I don't know.
Well, I guess we've got Cram from Spiderbait was
right.
A pretty good, inspiration for drummers to sing.
Absolutely. I mean, Cram's incredible. He's, as far as, rock drummers and vocalists go, he's an all-in-one package. So, there's a lot of drummers doing vocals now. We supported a band called Racket the other week, and they all sing, and the drummer is a fantastic singer as well. So it was all quite impressive to see all these drummers with the vocals and arms flying everywhere. And I think with guitar it's a little bit easier because you're using your hands and your arms, but with drums you've also got your feet involved, and that is quite a responsibility.
And who says that men can't multitask?
Yeah, that's right.
Drummers can, apparently.
That's right. That's a fair endorsement for all drummers, isn't it?
Yep. You're just about to release your debut album on the 27th of July.
Yes.
Did you have an EP out?
No, this was actually evolved from an EP. The original, as I said, the original plan was a bit of a do-it-yourself thing that evolved into a bigger project through some encouragement from, producers and other people that I'd been, had provide some mentoring and stuff. And it turned out that, we had a good album's worth of material that was worth recording, and so the EP became the album. And as you said, it officially comes out on the 27th of July, but we've just actually launched a store for pre-orders, so it's there ready for people to start getting excited about.
And that can be found at pacingthecage.co.
That's right. Pacingthecage.co is obviously our official website, and all the links to socials, and the store is hosted by Pledge Music, but it is a pre-order. It's not a crowdfunding campaign as such. It's the products there ready to go, and we're just utilising their services to get the tunes out to the masses.
Can I ask then, like the fact that two of the guys joined later, have they been involved in the songwriting or helped the songs evolve, or is it all you and Lee that have pretty much written these songs for this album?
Yeah, the songs are kind of come from a good, 12 to 18 months work from my side, and Lee came in and provided the drum tracks for it. Alex and Luca did join at a point where the album was completed. And it's one of those things where every time we rehearse, we're kind of almost, at the moment rehearsing for the album, but at the same time kind of dying to write more material. And
so the songs are kind of evolving a little bit for a live show.
Right. They've definitely been evolving for a couple of reasons. On the album, there's certain bits where it doesn't translate as well to a live scenario. So the bass parts, I'm not a bass player, I'm a guitarist that tried to play bass, and it's been really great to have Luca, someone that really knows the real vibe behind a rhythm section. And so a lot of the bass parts that he'll play live will be different to, say, the recording.
Right, and you do have the single Thrill Pill out.
Yes.
Did you make a video for that?
We haven't made a music video as such. The only real video presence is what I think everyone seems to do as an easy way out, is the lyric video concept. So that can be found on YouTube. As far as music videos go, it's one of those things that we'd love to be able to do, and we've written some really good video, what's the word, kind of like screenplay type stuff for Thrill Pill. But it all comes down to funding in the end.
Yeah, I think actually now might be a good time we'll let people listen to the current single Thrill Pill right now.
Yeah.
And we'll give them a taste of what's to come, a little bit later.
That'd be great.
Awesome. This is Pacing the Cage and their latest single, Thrill Pill, on Collision. You are back on Collision with Kat and Andrew Mullen from Pacing the Cage in the studio. Say hi, Andrew.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and that was your current single, Thrill Pill, that we just heard then.
That's right. So Thrill Pill, we've had it out for it's been a couple of months now. Well, when I say a couple, that might be a bit long, but it's been out for a while, and been getting some great attention on Spotify, and we're kind of just been sitting with this single for, getting the most out of it as we can. And it's really great to know that, Ballarat's been giving it a bit of a play. Yeah.
Can I ask, actually, because, I don't know, you're not a rock band as such.
Right.
There's a little bit of an alternative sound to it. What are your influences?
Yeah, well, that's I think you've probably nailed it there, because my influences really come from '90s rock and the likes of, say, the Smashing Pumpkins and Soundgarden. I'm a big Tool fan, although the album doesn't have that kind of progressive rock. There's a few touches in a couple of the songs, but mostly the likes of, say, Queens of Stone Age and even Foo Fighters. I still listen to a lot of Muse and Biffy Clyro and bands like that. So they're all rocky bands. It's really hard when people ask, what a genre to fit in. We are a rock band. There's bits of alternative rock in there, because that's a lot of where my personal influences come in.
Yeah, well, I think with, a lot of Australian bands, when people think rock band, they think AC/DC rock.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not AC/DC rock.
Yeah.
It's probably got a little bit more of a pop sense to it than that. And, I think there's like very slight, maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? That 70s kind of vibe happening in the background. Yeah, I can't think of the word I want. But
it's not the psychedelic.
Yes, there's a little tiny just taste of psychedelic happening in the background, I reckon, of the music.
Yeah, certainly with Thrill Pill, the middle section is completely different to what I'd, gone into the studio with. And the producer, David Carr, he, kind of just had one of those moments of inspiration where he just cut all the rock instruments out and, gave it almost that Beatle-y kind of synthesizers type, and organs and stuff like that. And that completely changed the dynamic of the song, and, went from being a normal rock song into something that's a little bit more interesting. Producers
can be magic, can't they?
That's right. Yeah. They I think it's an art where back in, say, the 70s, they were very influential in how an album came out, and probably more recent times, a lot of people will call themselves a producer when they're not. They're more kind of just someone that knows how to mix and put an album together. But certainly David, who did the mixing and producing on the album, he added a lot. A great musician in his own right, so it was kind of very good to have that extra bit of creative input.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you've probably been in other bands before. What sort of styles of bands were you in the past?
Yeah, mostly alternative kind of bands. I grew up, my first couple of bands were more that, Pearl Jam cover kind of bands, and where I was the guitarist in these bands, and then almost to that Grinspoony kind of Silverchair style of rock, the Australian rock of those years. I was in a band that was very, more that kind of style. I went and did my own little projects for a while, and then kind of got to a point where I really wanted to just record some music that had some heavy guitars, some good riffs, and at the end of the day, just be proud of the actual songs. I was finding that I was maybe writing songs to fit a certain moment of time. Maybe it was what was in vogue at the time, or what certain say maybe TV programs were playing, or whatever it was. And I thought, just strip all that out, go back and write the songs that I certainly be proud of.
I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm thinking, I miss that opportunity to talk about that. I need to go backwards.
Oh, right.
But I will first say that your music, I guess, is a little bit Grinspoonish, but without the punk.
Right. Yeah. I think certainly.
You know more than three chords. But
that's right, yeah.
Not that I'm accusing Grinspoon of only knowing three chords. They rock.
No, they had some great riffs, and they had some great hooks as well in with the guitars, and certainly I personally, I really liked Grinspoon from that group of bands, those and Spider Bait. They were kind of the things that go to a festival and you watch a whole heap of bands, say maybe Coldplay or something like that, and then, you know, Grinspoon and Spiderbait and the other
Jebediah
band,
and
The Living End was what,
Living End,
yeah, and you just think that's just good rock and roll, good festival music, you know, it's real hard hitting and it's, you know, a lot of fun. And so that's what I certainly wanted to get back towards, that kind of more festival, you know, energy. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good days, the early OOs and that, with all those festivals and with the major national station actually supporting those alternative bands, and it was really good. And those bands, they know how to put on a show.
Yeah,
they definitely do.
And you notice it as well when you do go to these performances where the guys that they've been around, we're even seeing the Baby Animals on tour again, and they know the rock show and they know
how to get an audience going.
And that's what I was going to say, how to engage and how to really, you know, make it an event rather than just a gig type thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I will hop back now because you mentioned Smashing Pumpkins. Smashing Pumpkins are releasing new music at this point in time. So how exciting would it be to support someone like Smashing Pumpkins if they come to Australia?
You know, that would be beyond belief because, firstly, the Smashing Pumpkins are one band that I never got to see live, and I've always kicked myself for it. And, you know, that Billy Corgan went off and did his other projects, and I didn't think, you know, an opportunity to see them live would ever come again. And, you know, supporting them, that would be almost, you know, the...
your brain might explode.
Right. It would be almost too much to process, I think.
And I will hop back now to when I mentioned the psychedelic thing in the Thrill Pill song. The song isn't about psychedelic pills.
No.
It's about the morning after pill.
That's right. And that's a good point.
I'm wondering if where the influence from that came from. Is it a real life story?
It's kind of a real life story. That there was a conversation it was kind of like one of those cheeky conversations I was having with a female friend of mine, and it was a Friday afternoon at work, and we were talking about plans for the evening type thing, and she was going out for a night of dancing, and I happened to, you know, be almost teasing, almost, poking in her ribs type thing. You're going to find a boyfriend type thing, and happened to say, "Do you have the thrill for the morning after pill?" Afterwards, I realised how absurd that kind of conversation was. Fortunately, you know, being a close friend, there was certainly no ill kind of feelings type there, but it got me actually thinking about those, and I think we all kind of know that type of male that is at the pub or, you know, a certain event, and they do kind of strut around as if they are God's gift to women, and almost just that archaic kind of caveman perception of females, and you do unfortunately still see a lot of say messages on Facebook from females that, you know, they've either been groped at say a festival or you know, been hit on at a pub, or someone's made a comment of what they're wearing and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately we do, you know, still live in that kind of world where that I guess it's I said caveman before, and it is almost that barbarian kind of mindset that is still
social
out there.
media seems to have brought that out in people more.
And and perhaps so. I think, you know, I do remember seeing with this Me Too campaign, someone sent out, you know, as one of they were almost arguing against, you know, Me Too type thing, and there was a picture of Miley Cyrus wearing not much, and, you know, the thing was, you know, Miley Cyrus supports Me Too and then goes and does a gig wearing this. And I think they kind of missed the point that, you know, she's actually more than entitled to
wear what she chooses. And
that's
she's
right.
Putting on a show particularly.
That's right. And I think those kind of messages are going around on social media, and not a lot of, I guess, thought gets put into what gets posted and read on social media, and that was kind of the point of Thrill Pill, was almost to have a story of this kind of male out on the hunt. You know, I will beat my chest until you get undressed type thing, and the whole point was to have a ridiculous song that has ridiculous lyrics, like "Do you have the thrill for the morning after pill?" Just to kind of show how unbelievable that kind of behaviour is.
Yeah, awesome. And actually, ridiculous lyrics seem to be the most popular anyway.
Right, yeah.
If the less sense they make, the more popular they are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's going to be so wrong trying to make a bridge between that conversation and listening to your next single. I don't. Speaking of ridiculous lyrics, no.
No, well, I think also
I'm joking.
I think from speaking about the next single, it is a song that kind of ties in nicely to Thrill Pill. It's almost that next level of social kind of bullying. The song's called "Your Love, My Love," and it is about bullies, and in particular bullies that are quite close to us. And you know, in the comparison with Thrill Pill is quite a lot of females and males, but you know, it is a bigger problem with females being abused by people closest to them. And unfortunately, it is usually a male that is either physical, but I think we also forget that the verbal abuse is just as bad in that domestic sense. So that's Your Love, My Love. Hi, it's Andrew Mullen from Pacing the Cage, and you're listening to Collision on Voice FM.
You are back with Kat on Collision. Don't forget, coming up very soon, we have an interview with Venues on the show. But right now, from Pacing the Cage, whose track, My Love, Your Love, we just heard, I have Andrew in the studio with me,
Chatting about the band. And so, well, I guess do you have a name for the album that's coming out on the 27th of July yet?
Yeah, it's called Intox. Bit of a play. Almost a play on words, but Intox is French, or translate as brainwashing, and there are also other themes on the album. Kind of go around the topics of Australia's kind of obsession with being intoxicated. So it just felt like a really good word to represent the album with the different themes, and it was. With that kind of brainwashing part as well.
So the brainwashing part, is there a lot of social commentary on there about like government's brain?
There's a bit, and I mean, it's not. We're not talking, conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, but just at the level of, there are certain social issues, such as in Australia we went through the yes/no vote for marriage equality, and a lot of the negative press around it was coming from people of influence. Maybe it was, say, a politician, or someone that was a leader of an organisation that have their own agendas. Saying things like could destroy family values and things like that, and that's the kind of brainwashing I'm referring to, that kind of stigmas that we have. Another song which I think we're going to play is called "The Devil Is Innocent," and that's a lot around, say, the stigmas with addiction and mental health. It wasn't that long ago that people with, say, depression or postnatal depression were getting lobotomies. That was 40, 50 years ago that those kind of things were happening, and that's quite a drastic. We're not talking burning witches at the stake, but I think the way that we deal with mental health has been a lot of snap out of it, or think positive thoughts, and a kind of the perception and the stigmas. People are still quite afraid to get that help because of what are my coworkers going to think if they know that I'm depressed, or those kind of things, and
still hard to talk about.
Yeah, and
openly.
That's right, and it is a problem, and I could probably ramble on a bit about it because another area is, say, addiction, and one of the main ways of getting treatment for something like addiction are organisations such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, and just simply in their name is anonymous, and you kind of straight away give that secrecy, and I shouldn't
hiding.
I shouldn't be telling anyone about this because it again, say friends or co-workers know that I'm addicted to sleeping pills, or I have to eat, or I'm always on social media or something like that. That there's that thought of what are they going to think of me, and because the way that it's still perceived in society is that it's a problem, and
which is ironic actually, because when you think about it, there's very, very few addictions that you actually do hide from people. They usually are seen in one way or another.
That's right. These things come out, and they certainly, obviously your friends and your coworkers aren't silly. They're going to know that something's up, or they probably suspect something's up, and in the perfect world, they themselves feel comfortable approaching you and being able to talk about it, or just help you almost liberate yourself from that hidden, because you're probably trying very hard to hide something, and they're probably trying very hard not to
notice.
Not to notice, and it then comes to that whole anonymous problem, which
the elephant in the room that no one's talking about. And it's time to maybe change and open up the conversations.
Well, that's right.
It's hard too when you look at social media, because even though there's a lot of caring and supportive people on there, there's also a lot of people who are judgmental and attack people when they do speak openly. So
that's right. And I think that with these areas, the topics that we talk about, say, be same-sex marriage, or there's still some theories out there that it's unnatural and not normal. Whereas I think the song "The Devil Is Innocent" is all about, hey, these people aren't devils. They're not, witches. But a mother that's got postnatal depression isn't a bad person. It just so happens that they're going through, things,
the chemical change in their brain.
Yeah, that's right. The physical aspect, and then of course that compounds in all the stuff that's going on around them. So the devil is innocent is saying, hey, these people aren't the devil. They're actually innocent. They're, it's not wrong behavior. But unfortunately, we still have these stigmas with, maybe it's for a political reason that they want to be, I think the Yes No campaign is probably the best example most recently about, what people were trying to say, and Australia voted yes, and we haven't crumbled as a society.
Yeah.
So,
and like seriously, the families, falling apart, and that none of them are sitting there breaking up because they're arguing about whether gay people should marry or not. There's other issues that are causing family breakdown.
Yeah,
like gay people are getting married now, and nothing's really changed in anyone's life.
No.
Other than theirs.
That's right. And I think that's certainly the, maybe, my personal upbringing has been, very open-armed and open-minded as far as what, race and religion and things like that. But I do understand that there's certainly some education that others, could certainly benefit from if they're struggling to understand why, it's not a problem to be an addict, or it's not a problem to be going through postnatal depression. It's just, you know, about compassion and a bit of education and understanding.
Yeah, or maybe people focusing more on their own lives than everyone else's.
Right.
Stop sitting at home watching social media and thinking that you can somehow judge people from that and worry about your own backyard a bit more.
That's right. Well, it's very easy to be judgmental when you watch Love Island and all those kind of things.
Yeah. We could solve the problems of the world sitting here, but it's not actually promoting your music very well. I mean, it is talking about your music, but well, you do have the debut album coming out now, and as you said, you're itching to write new songs. So, Are you planning on touring the album, or are you planning on starting to write the next album pretty quickly?
I think a bit of both. I think just naturally the way the kind of release cycles go, you know, the album's been actually finished for over a year now, and the launch is, as we've said, the 27th of July, and then we'll have an album launch in September, a lot, you know, live shows, and that will lead into hopefully some regional shows in Victoria. So we'd love to come to Ballarat and, you know, kind of go through different towns and stuff like that. So that's kind of the evolution of the release. But from a musician point of view, we're really looking forward to, you know, in those moments where we can be writing songs, be preparing for the next album and, you know, just build off whatever momentum we can from this album and put that into the next one.
Do you think now that you're a working complete band that you will start road testing new tracks while you're playing live?
Yeah, I think that's a definite part of that evolution that I was just talking about. There are songs on the album that don't translate as well to a live performance. So we might find that, you know, if we're not getting that engagement with the audience with certain songs, we might find that we'll swap them out with something a bit more new and fresh that, you know, we can personally, you know, have a chance to road test the songs and see how they
see
go.
How much you enjoy playing them and see how much the audience reacts to them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so you're really looking forward to getting out there in September then with these live shows.
Definitely. I think once we, you know, got a little bit of a tour booked to, you know, certainly Victoria and New South Wales, then we can, you know, start to. We mentioned earlier that the band's 3 months old, and I would have to say that in the last month we've really started gelling, and it's really, you know, been more about the band rather than just an album that Lee and I recorded. It's, you know, we're all kind of starting to gel, and that all came mostly from the you know, the first live show, and that was kind of the moment where we realized it is a band and we're really enjoying each other's company, and artistically, you know, all got the same vision. So it's kind of nice.
And, well, you've artistically got the same vision. What about the road ahead? Do you want to be signed? Do you want to just be a successful independent band? Are you looking at going overseas? What are your dreams?
I think the road to get, you know, I'm not convinced anymore about the role of record labels, apart from, you know, signing to a record label obviously is fantastic because there's other benefits. But, you know, that traditional sign with a record label so they, you know, they fund your next album.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
That's something of the past. And I think, you know, the likes of, you know, for my personal and, you know, well, I should say the band's goals, because it is something we've all spoken about and a really kind of dream and aspire to do, is the, you know, the festivals and the overseas. You know, it would be absolutely fantastic to say do a European festival circuit, and to get there that's going to involve booking agents and probably, you know, some help from the management kind of side, so that they're more going to be the focus. But absolutely, if there's a record label that's, you know, provides that kind of support for a band, then, you know, we'll be more than happy to just be part of whatever team we need to be.
Well, there are a lot of Australian bands getting signed to European labels now that they're still independent within Australia, but they've got Europe covered by the label.
Yeah. And I think that is for Australian bands, and it probably works the other way with Europe, independent and in Australia, because you do need people on the ground in the different territories for, say, distribution of a CD or understanding
networking
the market.
opportunities. And
That's right.
Well, that's what record labels basically are, networking opportunities and marketing machines these days. It's like, they're not going to hand you money. They're actually going to spend your money on marketing and stuff and send you the bill.
Yeah. And I think, if it's done properly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You kind of, I think, to me, that kind of scenario just sounds like an absolute luxury. It sounds so fantastic because it is a lot of hard work.
Especially in territories that you don't know, you don't have connections in.
That's right.
Yeah, like Europe.
That's right. And I think, Europe and the US, they're different, completely different to Australia. The markets and the way the industries run, it is different. And
they're completely different to each other too.
That's right.
Yeah.
and it's tough in Australia, and it's definitely tough over there.
Yeah. Well, they've got a lot more competition over there.
Yes. I think in some ways there's a lot of great things. I know on mainland Europe, say Germany and, those countries around Germany, that they like rock music. So it's a really good opportunity for rock bands. Whereas, I think in Australia, a lot of, the national broadcasters, they like a lot of that indie kind of stuff. And so there's kind of the different opportunities. So there's some benefits over there, but then...
Well, America's apparently still pretty full on with rock radio too.
Yeah. There's still a big, I guess, appetite for rock music over there as well.
But then it depends what you feed people. People tend to like what you feed them.
Yeah.
So people need to dive below the surface.
Right, I agree.
Find out what's happening in the Australian music scene, really happening out in the local venues and that. And people need to close down their Facebooks and go out and see bands live.
That's right. I agree totally. I think, you always talk to someone and, somewhere along the line, the topic of hobbies, or even we said turn off Facebook, but, there might be hobbies, and live gigs is probably in most people's list of things they enjoy to do, but they don't actually go and do it. So I think definitely get out and brave the weather.
And then there's like a lot of younger people who don't know what it's like to even go and see live bands. And if you're sitting there telling them how fantastic it is, then they're going to want to check it out.
Absolutely.
So spread the word.
That's right.
I will tell people they can actually find you on Facebook at facebook.com PTC Band, or I guess if they put Pasting the Cage in their search, they should find you.
Definitely. Pasting the Cage, and the Instagram's exactly the same. It's PTC Band.
Well, I did find a song called Pasting the Cage. Is that where you got your name?
Yeah, well...
I don't even want to say the artist's name.
The simple answer is definitely. The artist...
Bruce Cockburn.
Bruce Cockburn, probably, I think it's pronounced Coburn.
Oh, it's not spelled that way.
No, it's not. So Bruce Coburn is a Canadian artist and one of my father's favourite.
Right.
And so I grew up listening to a lot of his stuff. And when I was going through the agonising task of coming up with a band name, that was one of the first, but I really didn't want to name the band after an existing song. But after, a couple of months of going through different names, I was just always coming back to that one. So, I kind of in some ways bit my pride in and thought I will go with, something that's already a song out there. There's nothing wrong with that. But, I'm really pleased that we did go with that name because it does have that little bit of personal history as well.
And it's also like it's got that connotation of being able to write about issues and that if you want to, because you don't want to just paste the cage about them. And
that's right.
You want to get them out there and open.
That's right. And that's I think different people have kind of different visuals when they read the, band name. And for me, it's about that kind of being locked up in, I've said the word society so many times, but being locked up and just...
Well, we are in a lot of ways because there's always new laws being implemented to restrict society from doing normal things.
Yeah.
So, and you are, I will tell people too, you are PTC banned on Instagram, but if they do go to pacingthecage.co, just CO, then you do up in the top right-hand corner of your website, you've got all your links to your Twitter and your Instagram, your Facebook, your Spotify, which you've had a bit of success on Spotify with Thrill Pill.
Yes. And
So-
the pre-order store will be there.
Yeah.
And if you do pre-order the album, you will get Thrill Pill as an instant gratification track, they call it.
Right, yeah, and it's the 27th of July, which is next week, that the album is released. You must be getting pretty antsy and excited.
Yeah, it's very that whole antsy, I think is the right word. I think you've got it there. It's been a really long process to get to where it is, and I think the right process is obviously things we'd do differently, but we're really looking forward to having the album available, because that also means that when we're touring, there's a product to support.
Yeah, awesome. And you don't have an actual show booked in yet for the launch?
No, actually, that will be announced very shortly. Yeah. I'm just
got to get all your pieces in the place
I've just
properly.
got to get that the venue confirmations all in, and
Yeah. Well, there is actually a link on your Facebook, a pinned post to pre-order the album right now. So people should not only go and give you a like on Facebook, they should keep an eye out for when that show is announced.
yeah, and we've got some competitions coming up. So everything will be on the website, but everything gets shared onto Facebook, and there's a bit of opportunities for different competitions and a bit of fun here and there. We'll be putting up some intimate interviews very shortly, and lots
Intimate
of behind
ones. Ooh.
lots of behind the scenes.
This one's been pretty intimate, don't you think?
Yeah, it's been very, very deep.
I'm just looking at the photo here and thinking of the irony of everything we've been talking about, not hiding, and getting things out in the open, and then you've all got masks on.
Yeah, well, 3 of the guys have masks on, and I think I'm covering my eyes. But there is that irony, and the photo, I'm not sure if you can see it all up there, but it's got that graffiti behind us with the big word Butch, and I just love that photo because it's got those animal faces and the Butch and yeah.
So once the album's revealed, you'll reveal your faces to the public.
That's right.
Don't forget, they are Pacing the Cage on Facebook. Go and give them a like. And pacingthecage.co for the website and all of the links. And it has been great talking to you, Andrew. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll have to do it again one day, maybe when, like you said, some of the other guys can actually make it up here with you.
Yeah, well, when we get ourselves to Ballarat to do a show, then definitely we should do that, because I've had a lot of fun. It's been really good.
And when you get really famous, you'll remember us.
Oh, of course. Of course. We'll remember this moment, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it is The Devil is Innocent from Pacing the Cage that we are going to end this interview with. Do stick around. There is a lot more Collision coming up. And thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you.